Okay, let's keep the quiet.
Yeah.
Harlem Network News. Good afternoon, Harlem and Harlem of the world. I'm Terry Wisdom, and this is Harlem Network News. As many of you are well aware, Harlem Network News is a new media platform. We started at the onset of COVID, and it has been quite a journey, and we are still here. We want to just, of course, honor and salute all of our ancestors first, as many have lost their lives in COVID, and it continues to happen. And now there is great loss of life in Ukraine, as we're all seeing, as around the world, and still in our country due to many disparities. So we want to salute Harlem Network News. And I know we're having a little bit of background noise, but I also want to personally salute my cousin, Charles White, who transitioned in September. He was a Black cowboy, a singer hailing from Compton, California. And I just know heaven is full, as well as with my son, Ali Wisdom, who transitioned due to gunshot. And thank you, Congressman Espaillat, for all you've been doing to help with that. I appreciate you.
Continue to fight for that, yes.
Okay, yes, important. And so today we have our great Congressman Adriano Espaillat of our District 13 in New York City, and that covers Central Harlem, Upper Manhattan, Washington Heights, as well as a part of East Harlem, and as well as a part of the West Bronx. So that's a lot. And as it is Women's History Month, very befitting, Congressman Espaillat just shared with me that he has got the most diverse staff in Congress, and it's primarily women of color. So these are women that are getting it done, and I salute your staff. I mean, they are the dream team and they're on it. Yeah. So without further ado, Congressman Espaillat, if you would just greet
Sure.
your audience, and then let's dive right in. I know your time is short because you're so busy, but we want to talk about all the hot topics that are happening. So thank you, Congressman.
Before that, I'm glad you mentioned that. I want to salute the women that work in my office.
Okay.
Anady Batista, who's my chief of staff, Candace Persons, who's my Washington lead, and she's also my communications director. We have Monica Garay from Manhattan, but she's based in Washington, legislative work. Mia Thomas, who also does my Ed and Labor Committee. We have also Besaida, who's Sanchez, who does a lot of the work with the interns and a lot of the office work in DC. We have Debbie Navavian, we have Lori, we have Cynthia. Who am I forgetting? I better not forget anybody. I better not forget anybody here, but we have a great team of women that Black and brown women that and others that are tremendous and do a great job. And a couple of men too. We'll give them a little credit. But for the most part, women of color, very qualified, of course, and truly committed to the cause. And I want to salute them in this Women's History Month. And to say, Terry, to start with the fact that my office will be honoring women across the district. We're
Okay,
first going to start with Harlem,
all
and we're going to
right,
be honoring in Harlem all the women that lead the NYCHA Resident Association.
okay,
By the way, most of the leaders of those residents associations are women. Then we're going to go to Washington Heights, Northern Manhattan, and we're going to also recognize the head of the parent associations in School District 6, which
okay.
is mainly women also.
Yes, yes.
Also, not all, I believe all are women.
I'm a former parent association
There you
co-president
go. Yeah.
in District 4, so I get it.
And then the third event is going to be in the Bronx part of the district. And we're going to recognize in the Bronx, and I'm sure you like this because these women do a fantastic job every day in providing safety for our kids. And very often they go unnoticed and they may not get paid what they should get paid. But we're going to be honoring the crossing guards.
Okay, yes.
In the schools, in the districts of the Bronx, right? In the school districts in the Bronx. So we're going to be honoring all the cross. So we're going to do those 3 events back to back, and we'll let you know the exact day so that you can be part of it.
Okay, we thank you for that. And, as we experience Women's History Month, which really we celebrate women, every day of the year. We do want to just speak about the great nomination of a woman of color, Ketanji Brown Jackson, to the Supreme Court. So it's very befitting that that's happening at this time. And I'm not up on all the details, but everybody across the country needs to reach out to their senator and, just say that we want her confirmed. And, of course, we are not just saying, oh, she needs to be in because she's a woman of color, but we've got to look at the time and the logistics. And this really hasn't happened before in our country. So it is time. But of course, we are going to hold her to the same standards that we hold everybody to. And we know that she's qualified. I remember that from the 60s, qualified, and still denied. So, we need to make sure that, that is not happening further. And we also know as people of color, women of color, I grew up with my parents like sitting at the dinner table every day and telling us that we had to be 3 times as good. So, and that's still what it is. So we're just very proud of that, and we'll do what we can do to support that. So, absolutely. Yeah, so thank you so much. Thank you for coming. This is a busy time. We are still in COVID, so everybody still needs to be mindful with mask, hand washing, vaccinations, watching, healthy diets, healthy living, because that contributes a lot. And, but now we have transitioned to a war, which is impactful to us all. And Congressman Espaillat is going to talk to us today about the legislation that is bringing funding, the funding project to the communities. I believe it's $11.5 million. So if you could just speak about that, because it's very important. A lot of times, one of the reasons that Harlem Network News started is because a lot of times things that impact our community are not covered. Maybe people don't watch CNN, so they don't understand it, and we even had it with the mayor's office where he was feeling he wasn't getting the coverage, that he needed. And we have to understand we do have a lot of divisiveness based on race in our community, and we have to change that. And we can't change it unless we identify it, see what it is, and then address the problems. So if you could just speak about that, We'd really appreciate it greatly. And of course, how is it?
Before I do that, Terry, let me recognize also the great Shanna Marks, who works for me.
All right. Yes.
And Cynthia.
Okay.
I don't want to miss anybody, right? There's so many that,
Yeah.
Shanna heads our Harlem office.
Yes.
And Cynthia does a lot of constituent work in our Washington Heights office, and Nina is a new staffer in the Harlem office.
Okay.
And pretty soon, hopefully, and Maritza Sanchez does immigration work also in our Harlem office. So, and of course, we have a host of. So as you can see, Candace, Shanna, Nina, our African American, Anady, Cynthia, and Maritza, our Latino. We have like a host of a big diversity team in our office.
Yeah, very important, and we thank you for that. And I think just in terms of reaching out to your offices, your staff can probably be a model for how everybody's working together, and also a model for just being proactive. I never call your staff that, I don't get a response from Candace, formerly Allison. I mean, people answer the phone, they get back to you, and then they make it happen. And
let me claim Allison too, because although she's transitioned, that was just a little while ago. And while she was with us, she did a tremendous job. So Nina is new.
Yes,
in our Harlem office, and Allison transitioned, and so we're very grateful for the work that she's done. And you are as good as your staff, and your team is the one that really gets it done. And so I value the work that they do every day.
So if you want to do some staff development and share it across Congress and the Senate and everyone else, you all are a model. So let's get to the hot topics that are on the table. And I know it's the the funding that's coming through. It's Ukraine, and then the HBCUs who were suffering from the bomb threats, and you addressed that as well. So thank you.
Well, first on the funding, as you know, we did that last year, and we had to wait for the Senate to approve it, and they finally did that, and they sent it back to us, and we finally made the last tweaks to it, and we're hoping that the president now will sign that right away. And a lot of that work was around COVID because, as you know, last year we were immersed in the entire pandemic, and so we have a funding for a mental health program that will provide state-of-the-art mental health services. As you know, the pandemic unleashed a mental health crisis. So that's going to be an important piece. We also have funding for City College's Transportation Infrastructure Institute to provide the training for young people and others to be able to get those prevailing wage jobs that will be produced through the infrastructure bill. That's an important piece to it. We have a food security component that's important, of course, for communities that are facing food security issues. They faced them during the pandemic, and we're concerned that they will continue to face food security issues. We also had a big technology piece in the Bronx part of the district, and that's going to be led by the Bronx Foundation, and that they will do tremendous work with the infrastructure and 5G and other technology-oriented projects for young people, connecting communities, but also addressing some of the issues that we faced during the pandemic with distance learning. So that's important as well. We're going to be assisting small businesses as well. That's going to be an important part of it. And so for the most part, all of these efforts were around pandemic-related services. And as we prepare for the next cycle, right, we'll be looking into the input from the community as to what areas they feel should be our concentration, our next concentration.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you very much. This is Terry Wisdom. This is Harlem Network News. If you're just joining us, we're here with our Honorable Congressman Adriano Espaillat of the 13th District here in New York City. And we are just dealing and understanding some of the, as we say, hot topics, on the table items that are very impactful to the community. And we need to know about these things. So if there's something we can take advantage of, or if there's something we think should be expounded on, that we can do that. Now, with this funding, let me understand, you said that this is really the COVID funding from last year that has passed. I understand it's in the amount of $11.5 million. And
Right.
is that overall $11.5 million? What part is coming to our district?
All of it. That's not really connected to the traditional COVID funding that we did, for example, for hospitals, for the stimulus package, for things of that nature. This is a very separate pot of money that's going to go exclusively to my district.
Okay, I love
Okay,
it.
that this is coming exclusively to the district, that we spread it out equitably to address the needs of different programs. The Urban League will get some monies there. The Mission Society will get some money there for programs for young people. As I said earlier, City College will get some monies there for the transportation infrastructure initiative. Cloth, which is an important not-for-profit in the southern Washington Heights, West Harlem area, will get some monies there for.
What's the name of it again, if you could repeat?
Cloth, yes.
Okay.
And then you have the Bronx Foundation, which will deal with some of the funding for technology. Yeshiva University also, which is further up in Washington Heights, will get additional funding. So this is all exclusively money that will stay within the district. And we'll have another round this year. I would love to have the input, as I said earlier, from the community. You know, I'm interested in looking at potentially at arts and culture as an area that we can, and job creation, right? Because those are the two areas that I think that we need to concentrate on, because of the nature of the district. Is an iconic district that has many arts and cultural institutions that need that help.
Yes.
And of course, employment, because of the chronic lack of employment, or the chronic levels of unemployment that exist in the community. So as a result, we sponsor, as you know, Terry, quarterly our job fairs. One of them will be coming up soon, and hopefully we could do it in person this time, because we've been doing it virtually.
Yes, absolutely. I had some even a little bit further questions on the funding that is coming through, because I understand the food insecurity is very important, or turning it into food secure. And I'm hoping that it will really address the security of food, because right now we know, at least in the Central Harlem area, food is being given out everywhere so that people can receive groceries, because they don't have enough money to buy their groceries. So I'm just hoping that this is going to look at the problem holistically, like you said, with jobs and also with housing, because what's happening is the housing is so expensive that people that do have money to pay for their housing, a majority of the money is going to housing, and then they can't buy their food and medicine. So I'm hoping that it'll expand on that. And also, because I know that you have time short, is media being addressed in this? Because this is a very serious issue that I speak of, especially with Harlem Network News, and even what Mayor Adams had to say about coverage. And also, I know that even in terms of funds that come from the federal government, this is not that package, but Black and brown and, media of color getting the money, to do the advertising, to develop themselves, which is how
Yes.
that development comes.
That funding will not go towards media, it's for specific. But I do support the mayor's diversity media initiative.
Okay.
And I think that's going to be an important one. And I look forward to working with members of my district that are involved in communications.
Yes.
Because very often those non-traditional media outlets don't get the support from government and institutions, for that matter, right? That they deserve. And they really get to places where no one else can, right?
Right.
Ethnic media gets to places where no one else can. And the mayor has now an ethnic and diverse media unit within City Hall. Yes, and so I'm going to be looking forward to sponsoring a meeting with that outfit. Okay. And the local networks so they can look at the opportunities that are available under the Adams administration. With regards to rent, Terry, my constituents will be getting a mailer soon. I'll show it to you right now. Maybe you can see it.
Yes, yes.
They'll get it in the mail. In the back part, you will see that you have a map, a color map, right? That has the actual amount of money that has been dispersed through the Emergency Rental Assistance Program by zip codes, right? The ERAP money, the money that we sent to the state. So for example, the Bronx part of the district got $60.7 million. Marble Hill got $1.5 million. Inwood got $31.5 million. Washington Heights got $18 million. Hamilton Heights and Manhattanville, 12.7, Morningside, 2 million, Harlem, $25.1 million, and East Harlem, $13.4 million through the ERAP program. A total of more than $165 million has been spent in the district through that program to help tenants pay their rent. And so I just wanted, and we still got more work to do. Yes, and we're asking for more money because people are still backed up. Right. But I just wanted to bring an update to the constituents as to what has been done regarding rent, because I know you brought that up.
Yes, yes, thank you for that. And I think that conceptually, it's very important. I know, it's kind of the theory, and this is Terry Wisdom, Harlem Network News, that you don't just give somebody a fish, you teach them how to fish or allow them to get to the water and get the supplies that they need.
Sometimes that fish is necessary there for people.
Yeah, no, they need the fish, but let's work on it holistically. So thank you for that. And then the last question, because I want to get to the other topic, and I'm glad you're going to be working and participating with the mayor's media initiative. And certainly Harlem Network News is there. We have been talking to them as well. And we want to work on that project because it's our vision. And this is why we steer the course. Now, what people are constantly reaching out to me and they are saying, what about Central Harlem? Because you have such a broad and diverse district, and it's really difficult because and I applaud you, because the district is diverse. It's diverse in culture, ethnicity, language, and you've got to put it all together. And the gerrymandering and the moving of the districts around is how our district got to be that. But it is what it is. So we've got to all work and make it work. But I always get questions, people are reaching in, somebody, when they saw that you're on this morning, they call me at 8 o'clock in the morning and which is great because it shows me that people are looking
the interest,
and they're like, What about Central Harlem? What is Congressman Espaillat doing for Central Harlem? I don't know if he's doing anything. So can you please address this? What
Well,
is
you know,
Central Harlem?
we are in fact, many of the programs that I guess laid out will be concentrating in Harlem. For example, the training program for City College for our young people will be concentrated in East Harlem and targeting the Second Avenue subway as a pilot project. And by the way, we got a commitment from the state to match the funding, which I believe was $1.5 million for that particular initiative. So we should have $3 million for our young people to be trained in state-of-the-art jobs for transportation infrastructure projects. In addition to that, I've been fighting with Senator Schumer to get in the Build Back Better program, the $32 billion for public housing. And I know that hasn't been passed by the Senate and it's been lagging, lingering on there in the Senate, but we must push that out. Now that's important, Terry, because the problems that NYCHA has, and by the way, the concentration of the NYCHA houses in my district are in Central Harlem, East Harlem, et cetera, not in the Bronx part of the district or not in North Manhattan. I mean, there are some NYCHA complexes in Northern Manhattan and in the Bronx, but the bulk of them are in Central Harlem. And so we fought hard to ensure that we got those $32 billion in there, which is close to the $40 billion need for capital projects. What does that mean? If we get that money, we'll be able to do the roof work, install the elevators, the boiler work, new boilers, pointing, the main capital projects that really transform the conditions inside those apartments, uplift the quality of life of 400,000 people across the city of New York, which are the NYCHA residents. So I will continue my visit. I started already now that COVID is easing up a little bit, and to visit each of the NYCHA complexes.
Okay.
I will continue to meet with the leadership there. As I said earlier, we will be honoring the women that lead those resident associations.
I look forward.
And I'll be inviting you to be there with us.
I love it.
My flagship office is still right at the center, front and center, right in the middle of Harlem. Okay. So if anybody, the ones that should be complaining a little bit is the Bronx, but I don't want to egg them on because
but it's good. I mean, I love the fact that people are calling because it says people are paying attention.
Absolutely.
And it says
we'll work up their concerns, their critiques.
Yes. Yeah. Very, very.
The best friend of an elected official is when you hear some level of criticism and you're able to, absorb it and make the changes that are necessary.
Yeah, very important, because a lot of times I always say this, even with corporate, like if you're working at a job or you're in a school and there's a problem, it's your responsibility to let the person know, because often the people at the top don't know exactly what's going on unless people let them know. So we're grateful for that.
One other thing that I want to bring up that's very relevant to Harlem, Terry. As you know, I brought Mayor Adams to take a walk down 125th Street with me.
Yes.
And some of the leaders, the Senator Claudel Clear was there, and some of the other leaders, Councilwoman Diana Ayala from East Harlem.
Yes,
The concentration of these, the methadone programs, the needle exchange programs, the harm reduction programs, they all center around a radius of 125th Street, 124th Street, Lexington, Lenox, that area. And that's creating a real redlining problem for all these services. We're not necessarily against the services. We are against the concentration of all those programs in one particular area. Absolutely. So I have promised the residents of the area that I will bring the mayor, because I tried to go to the previous administration and they just wouldn't listen. And I thought it was unfair that they made those kinds of decisions before the new mayor came in. I thought they should have left it to the new mayor, the new administration to decide. But I did promise the residents that I will bring the mayor to that corridor. And he came and walked with us, and he's committed to making the changes that are necessary for us to carry our fair share of those programs. We're not asking for less. but we're not accepting more than we should cap.
Yeah, it's unacceptable. And I'm Terry Wisdom. This is Harlem Network News. I'm here with our Congressman Espaillat of the 13th District, and very critical the programs the mayor getting in. And it's very critical that people don't just walk and, see, they gotta, walk the walk, excuse me, talk the talk, and then let's make some change in action. Because honestly, being a Harlem resident, and part of it has to do with the pandemic, but it's just not safe on 125th Street. And it's a major corridor.
The mayor, Terry, also gave it back to us and said, you give us the recommendations that you want as a community. And so we're working now on developing a 10-point list of things that we want done. And one of them is the decentralization, clearly, of those programs. 75% of the recipients of those services don't live in the neighborhood. They come from outside. So let's spread them out. Let's not all have them in one place. And I think we'll be successful with that, as well as additional help that the mayor can bring us. The mayor is working in a big initiative for summer youth jobs. I'm being one of the leaders in Washington to ensure that we have the money so that every young person could have a summer job this summer. And we don't have the kind of conflicts between the youth, the police that we see popping up on a regular basis. So, these are the initiatives that are so important to Harlem, to Northern Manhattan, and the Bronx, not to one community over the other. I think it's important that we come together, only coming together and understanding that there will not be one neighborhood privileged over the other. They're all, in my mind and in my heart, equal, and they deserve the same kind of effort and commitment that I bring to the job.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so let's move along. And obviously, these issues are deep dives, and we can't talk about the nuances of it in 30 minutes. So we're bringing them up. Congressman Espaillat is here. His office is here. As citizens, it's your responsibility to call that office, walk in that office, and let him know block to block what's happening. Because if you don't tell him, something's happening on 138th Street, and it, then if you see something, say something.
We had, for example, the businesses at Frederick Douglass led by Rose Pierre and Melba from Melba's restaurant come to us because of shootings that occurred there. In fact, unfortunately, on one of the restaurants that were dining, a family was dining outside, and one of the bullets went right through the glass of wine of one of the customers of one of the restaurants. And so we brought the local police commander there. He's increased patrol there. We still have to monitor to make sure that happens. They went and they met with the business owners. They made some recommendations. We got to follow through on that. And that's the kind of everyday effort that needs to be brought to the job. And they were also part of the walk with the mayor. Came on a rainy morning at 8:30 in the morning, with a shower. And he personally told me, I'm glad it's raining because this shows because of the turnout that we had, the kind of commitment that the community has behind this particular issue.
Yes, beautiful. And small businesses, I know that's part of the package. Anything specific that we should know? Because our small
let me just, I know that you mentioned to constituents to call in. Let me share the numbers. So that if you're in the Bronx, you can call 646-740-3632, and you can speak to Max Javier, who's there. In the Harlem office, you can speak to the Grace Shana at 212-663-3900. In the Washington Heights office, is 212-497-5959, and we're right on 181st Street and Bennett Avenue. And our Washington, D.C. office, if you have any ideas about legislation, about funding, it's 202-225-4365.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. And let's get to our other topic. We're moving quick, but it's important. Ukraine, what's happening there? What's happening with Congress, Senate, and how we're dealing? And also, what about the impact? Because it's impactful to the whole world, what's happening in Ukraine. And then it, of course, impacts our district, our community, because if we're a district where there's disparities in food insecurities and job problems, homeless problems, mental problems, when you bring something that's happening in Ukraine, if the gas prices rise, this prices rise, we get, everybody else, gets a nosebleed, we get pneumonia. So please address what's going on and how we can support, be aware, and what we can do to make sure we're not hit as hard.
Well, first, Terry, I led a letter asking for a TPS, temporary protected status, to be granted to Ukrainians there's over 100,000 Ukrainians in the United States, over 2,000 students. So the least that we can do is grant them temporary protected status while this war is battering their nation. In addition to that, I also, and that letter was signed by over 50 of my colleagues. In addition to that, I submitted a resolution calling on Vladimir Putin to be held accountable for any and all potential war crimes. The targeting of civilian sites, the targeting of a maternity hospital, it's really outrageous and is a blatant violation of the most fundamental human rights laws across the world, and the canon and the spinal cord of what we believe in as a nation for democracy, and the United Nations believes in. So we feel that the current situation with the encircling of key cities like Kiev, and by the way, we've seen already over 2.5 million refugees go out to bordering countries, lends itself to a potential slaughter, Terry. And we want to make sure we call this out, and we call it out early, in the hopes that it will reframe Vladimir Putin from proceeding and committing horrible acts against civilians. Over $13 billion were allocated for military help, for help with the humanitarian crisis that has been unleashed by this war, the refugees that are now all over the European continent, as well as the reconstruction and the economy of the Ukraine. This was included in our last omnibus bill. Yesterday, the State Department announced also another $200 million that will be given to that nation to be able to defend itself. And this is as simple as that. They're at a clear disadvantage militarily, and they're being encircled. They're standing up valiantly for their rights to exist, for their sovereignty. But unfortunately, many of their key cities are being encircled and a way to be attacked by the Putin war machine. So this is where we stand. As you know, this has impacted, of course, many sanctions have been put in place. Where the President Biden announced that we will not be purchasing any oil from Russia. Additional measures have been taken in the banking system to restrict access to capital. And so this is going to have, obviously, an economic impact on not just the United States, but the world's economy. But this is Putin's war. And he started it, he perpetrated it, and we must be able to help the Ukrainians survive, really. It's as simple as that.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. We're winding down. I'm Terry Wisdom. This is Harlem Network News, and we are on a little bit early today because we wanted to make sure, excuse me, that we could bring the congressman to you. And as you can see, he's been very busy. He's been moving around. I know you were at the bridge, just the voting rights. You've been everywhere doing everything. But with the Ukraine situation, what and how is it directly impacting us? Because we know
anytime you have war, and I traditionally being someone that has voted against the military budget and been a strong advocate for peace and war, because anytime we have war, it
Mhm.
really raids our budget and it takes away from the investment that we need to have in our domestic programs.
Yes.
And that's so important to communities like the one that I represent. But in this particular case, I couldn't stand by and watch the potential genocide of a people. I
Mm.
mean, clearly, that's what stands to happen if we do not help. And so we are providing help, and this will be a difficult time. But I think that the world, the United States and its allies, have come together in trying to bring as much help as possible without engaging militarily
Mhm.
and putting our young people at peril, our young men and women in the armed forces at peril. As we got out of a lengthy conflict in Afghanistan, I think it's not prudent to engage militarily in another one. But we must help the Ukrainian people, and that's what we've done.
Okay. Well, excuse me. So thank you for sharing that. And we know gas prices are rising, food prices are probably going to rise. So we have to hunker down and really keep all eyes on our District 13, which is diverse. And we're already experiencing these disparities. And we also have to look at racial disparities, which are across the world, because there are people of color, medical students from Africa and other places in the world, India. And we've got to look at that because there were situations where some of those,
We're not offered the same.
They
We're
were
not
not.
offered
Yes.
rights that the average person. So we're looking at that as well, the treatment of color. And by the way, when we say TPS, we say TPS for the Ukrainians, but TPS also for the Haitians, TPS for
Yes,
people of
yes.
color
Thank you.
that come fleeing, violent situations in their own countries. And so we have two standards, separate but equal, right? For two different countries. It should be equitable across the board.
Okay, I thank you for saying that, because that was next on the tip of my tongue. And a lot of people are not aware of all of this as it pertains to the world. So equity for everybody in the world, all the disparities that are happening. And we know that we have some very keen racial disparities. So we always have to be aware of that and try to change that, through education and just humanity. So thank you for sharing that. And is there anywhere we should reach out, mainly, I guess, your office, for any?
Just reach out to my office.
Concerns?
I gave you the names, the numbers. Let me do them again. And just to
Okay.
share with you my great experience in Selma, Alabama. It was my first time there, crossing the Edmonds Pettus Bridge on the anniversary of Bloody Sunday. And it was a great event. With 100, almost 100 degrees weather, but we made it through, and we had Vice President Kamala Harris there leading the way. So it was a great experience for me. I went with the Sigmas. That's my fraternity.
Okay. Yes, I love it.
We were there in blue. So again, the phone numbers are for the Bronx 646-740-3632. For Harlem 212-663-3900. Washington Heights is 212-497-5959. And if you want to reach my Washington, D.C. office, it's 202-225-4365. Thank you so much, Terry, for
thank you.
Once again.
Oh,
I love coming on Sundays. This has become a natural almost.
Okay, I thank you. And just a few quick words, because I know you've been taking some initiatives with the HBCUs and the bomb threats, and we've had a lot go on at our Lincoln University. So if you could just say a few words about that. And then
the bomb threats were horrendous. We were asking for a deep investigation. We've increased funding asked for increased funding for historically Black colleges and also historically minority institutions that include the Latino colleges as well. I think in the past they've been shortchanged. And now they should get more. So we'll continue to fight and asking for a federal investigation, a deep deep dive as to what happened there in terms of these bomb threats.
Okay, well, I thank you, and we just keep our prayers up. We support our students. I'm an alumni of Lincoln University.
Yes,
I'm a member of Howard University Parents Association, granddaughter who just graduated in December, grandson who's there, my son's son. So, I know we need to support, and these kinds of things have a ripple effect because it could make, and like you said, the Latinx, colleges, it could make people feel like, oh, there's bomb threats. I don't want to send my child there.
yes,
So it's a ripple effect. And as we know, just like the media, these have been mainstays of education for
yes.
when people could not go anywhere else. And
And
it all,
they need capital investment, Terry,
yes, yeah, yes,
primarily because their infrastructure is in bad shape because they have not got
yes,
the kind of
yes.
dollars that they need to,
Mhm,
particularly with technology shifting everything, right?
mhm, yeah.
So we must do more for them. And
Mhm.
I'm
Okay.
working with Congresswoman Adams, who's very much invested in making that happen as well.
Okay,
Thank
well,
you.
that's great. So quick closing statements. We thank you for taking time, and we will continue to support you. And you're one of the hardest working people.
Thank you. That my team.
Yes, yes. So
Take
closing
care.
statements, and we're gonna let you go to the next.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Terry. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Okay, great. This has been Harlem Network News, Congressman Adriano Espaillat. I'm Terry Wisdom. Please continue to reach out to us. We are the voice and the drumbeat of Harlem. And happy Women's History Month. We celebrate all year. Black History Month, we're still celebrating. And you can reach us at harlemnetworknews.com, harlemnetworknews@gmail.com, 646-261-5397. Tell a friend to tell a friend. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Clubhouse, harlemnetworknews.com, and soon to be on Manhattan Neighborhood Network News. We are very interested and excited about being part of the mayor's ethnic media initiative. It's very critical, so that everyone can be informed and that truth to power about our communities is spoken, activated on, and people are engaged. If you have stories, please reach out to us. If you have a service an in-kind service, or if you write, we're looking to further staff. If you are a camera person, editor, all of those things, it's critical. It takes a village, and that is what Harlem Network News is about. I salute all of you who have stayed with us. I salute my partner who has helped us with strategies and developmental, creating platforms. And that is in the form of Brother Bernardo Ruby. We salute you. And if anyone, needs to reach out to us directly, it's at 646-261-5397. And your donations are welcome, because that's investing in yourself, and it's how we keep going. Terry Wisdom, Harlem Network News. Have a blessed and prosperous Sunday, and prayers and salute to all our ancestors, as we have lost many, but we know they're still here, we're still here, and they're watching over us. Have a blessed day. This is Harlem Network News. Thank you.